This year, I actually kept a reading journal. I actually think that rating and ranking books is kind of counterintuitive to being a reader and just like enjoying reading. But I also think it's kind of like a fun little thing to do. One of the things that I did this year was have a reading bracket. And while I won't be sharing my ratings or reviews with you, I will share my top 5 books of 2025. My name is Joanna Kimber. I am an indie author, asterisk on the indie. Welcome back to my channel. Now, these are in no specific order, but they were all books that I thoroughly enjoyed reading and books that I thought had a very interesting commentary on different themes and topics within our society. And that is the point of fiction, isn't it? The first book I have to talk about is James by Percival Everett. So I read this book at the top of the year quite late. This was book of the year for 2024, and rightfully so. So what Percival Everett did was take Huckleberry Finn and reimagine it from the point of view of the enslaved person in that story, Jim, who we know as James. This book was funny, emotional, suspenseful, gut-wrenching at times. I actually think I'm going to reread it this year, and I'm probably going to buy another copy just for annotation purposes. If you haven't read James yet, you are missing out, I fear. The next book I want to talk about is The Illusion of Power by J.L. Seegers. Now, this is the first book in a duet. It follows our future First Lady as she deals with her cheating presidential candidate husband and ends up in a relationship with her 2 Secret Service agents who are also in a relationship. This book has everything you want in a romance novel while also having good, of course, queer representation, autism representation. We get themes of grief and how sometimes the people who love us most don't know how to give us what we need, even when we feel like we're clearly asking for it from them. We also see our main character deal with the incessant racism of being a Black potential first lady. If you've never read a book by J.L. Seegers, her writing is like so good. She's lyrical, but not in a way that takes away from the plot. She's entertaining while also being able to discuss difficult topics, and she's spicy without being gratuitous. Francine's spectacular Crash and Burn was an unlikely favorite to me. I went into this one completely blind and I had no idea what I was in for. It's one of those books where the blurb really doesn't give much away. We're following Francine in the wake of her mother's death. Francine is also autistic and queer and has been basically taking care of her agoraphobic mother for her entire life. So she goes from this codependent, reclusive relationship with her mother to now having seemingly no one except the little autistic foster kid who winds up at her front door one day. This book is such like a messy, heartwarming, real story about self-discovery and becoming independent. Francine makes a lot of mistakes and she sometimes makes choices that make you question her character, but truthfully, at the end of the day, we all do that. We all make mistakes and make questionable decisions. And I like when authors write characters that are real in that way. Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin is an American classic. Of course, it is an American classic for a reason. After reading it, I literally felt like I wanted to just sit and stare at a wall for 5 hours straight. The book is really about identity and how often and easily we are willing to betray ourselves to portray something that isn't true just because society tells us that's who we should be. We watch the main character of this book fight with his identity, and in this fight against himself also hurt the people he loves the most over and over again. In betraying himself, he becomes a liar, a deceiver, a bad friend, a bad lover, a bad husband, a bad son. You kind of want to like really judge this guy and hate him, but you can't because you know that based on the time this book was written in, he kind of had no choice. Being gay in that time was kind of a death sentence. And we see that play out with Giovanni, who literally ends up facing a death penalty. I'm slowly but surely working my way through James Baldwin's catalog. If you haven't read any books by James Baldwin yet, I implore you. The books are gritty, honest. They are at some points difficult to read, but they are worth it. Obviously. The last book in my top 5 was The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This book reimagines stories from the Iliad, which is a collection of books about Greek gods and Greek heroes. Achilles is a demigod, the son of a sea nymph and a mortal king. And he is the champion of the Greeks for his generation. His best friend Patroclus is also his lover, his life companion. And we see throughout the story that Patroclus thinks of himself as weak because he doesn't have the characteristics of men that are perceived as strong, including Achilles. But he is willing to be weak and overlooked as long as he gets to stay by Achilles' side. Achilles has to face the choice of a long life in obscurity versus a short life where he gets fame and gets to live out his prophecy as the champion of the Greeks. Of course, he chooses fame because, hello, like who doesn't want to be a Greek hero? Basically, we end up seeing Achilles go down this path of chasing this fame and kind of respect as the strongest Greek and as a son of a god. In this, he loses things that he loves. He loses things that are essential to his humanity. And in the end, he doesn't really care much about being a god anyway. We learn that the things that earned Achilles the most respect and love were also the things that made him human. Those were my top 5 books of 2025. To everyone who has listed one of my books in their top 10, top 5 books of the year, I am humbled. Knowing what it takes to be a favorite amongst, tens, sometimes hundreds of books, I'm actually like really touched. It actually makes me really emotional, guys. I write books about women who are figuring life out and finding love along the way. If you're interested, you can check the links in the description. Subscribing to my mailing list is the best way to keep in touch with me. My next book comes out at the end of March, and I will be documenting my process on this channel. So if you like this video, please like the video and subscribe. See you next time, and happy reading!